Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Grand Cruise Astrology. My name is Clayton Cruz, and today's video, I'm going to talk about the full moon, 8 degrees Pisces. And I'm excited to talk about this full moon because it has some very constructive aspects to it. This is good. There's some harmony here. I like it. So let's get started. All right. So what do we have when we have a full moon? We have a sun-moon opposition. Sun, 8 degrees Virgo. Moon, 8 degrees Pisces. They're in opposition. Well, what does that mean? Well, we're talking about the sign of Virgo with the sun. We're talking about the sign of Pisces with the moon. We're talking about two energies that ultimately have the same goal: connection with the whole, connection with the collective, connection with the larger collective. But they have two very different ways of going about doing this. Okay. Virgo, where the sun is. The sun, very objective energy, a very mental energy, a very conscious day to day energy, and a sign that is very day to day, which is Virgo. Very practical, very service oriented. Service is a key word for Virgo because Virgo finds value in being of help to others. That's how Virgo finds value in and of itself. Okay, that's how it understands its own value in the larger collective, and that's how it finds connection. That is its modus. And so when that energy is opposed to the moon in Pisces, which Pisces is more about connection with the collective through dissolution of ego, through understanding that there are no boundaries between you and I. There is no you and I. We are all one. And from that place of understanding, any actions taken are just by default going to be of higher service and higher consequence than self, because we're not in a place where we are delineating self and other. So it's the Pisces is it's the 12th sign of the zodiac. It's very spiritual. It has to do with closure, coming to completion, coming back into wholeness. Because the prior 11 signs have been a journey through differentiation and now coming back into integration fully at the 12th sign until we start the process over again at Aries. And so the moon in Pisces is bringing our emotional faculties, because the moon signifies our emotions, our unconscious. It's bringing our emotional nature into the realm of, in a way, the unconscious, but a more sort of egoless spiritual plane, if you will. It's Pisces is mutable water, and when I think of Pisces and I think of the moon there, I think of the depths of a bottomless sea. It's so full with presence, but it is ever expansive and nebulous. So, I mean, Pisces is classically ruled by the planet of Jupiter. And so you could think of Pisces as a very expansive, connective energy to all, but in a very egoless dissolution of ego kind of way. It's like the ocean. And so, but it does have that Jupiter quality. It's more of the spiritual side of Jupiter, the more not it's the spiritual side of Jupiter that is beyond words, right? That is what you can think of when you think of Pisces. Whereas, the more philosophical, adventurous side of Jupiter is more Sagittarius. So here we have the moon in Pisces across from Virgo. Two very different, across from the sun and Virgo, two very different energies of expression, but both seeking that connection to greater than self. Okay, so that is the challenge. How do we integrate that emotional sense of boundarylessness and selflessness, and how do we integrate that into an energy that is very day to day and trying to find value in self by being of service, right? You see the schism there. And so what I like about this full moon is, where if it were just a full moon that had no aspects, or it was even negatively aspect, we could find a lot of challenge with this. But what I like about this full moon is that we are having harmonious connections to the full moon that are going to help us resolve any kind of impasse we come to on an internal level with these energies. The main one that I'm looking at is Uranus in the sign of Taurus, directly sextile to the moon and trine to the sun. So I'll deal with these individually. Trine to the sun, first of all, Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a very fixed earth-oriented energy, okay? We've had Uranus going through Taurus for a while now, a couple of years, and it's been kicking things up. It's been really, really bringing some very sudden, fast, out of nowhere, novel, original mix-up to how we go about our day-to-day lives, how we understand our values, what it is that we value. This could be our relationship to money. I mean, a lot of this is going to depend on where Taurus is in your chart, but in some way, in a fixed earth-oriented kind of way, we've had Uranus coming through Taurus, bringing this shakeup, okay? Because Uranus energy is very electric. It's very quick. It's very sudden. It's very charged, okay? And Taurus is the most fixed, slow-moving. If you could say, if two opposites of the extreme is Uranus and the sign of Taurus. So Uranus as an energy expressing itself in the sign of Taurus is not the easiest place for Uranus. But as I've said, in some tangible, earth-oriented, fixed kind of practical way, there have been some shuffling going on in our lives in some capacity, in some part of our lives, wherever it is in our chart, whatever house. So that's been an ongoing process. Even though Uranus is a very sudden energy, it gets slowed down a little bit by Taurus. And being that it's a long 7.5-year cycle, it doesn't happen every day all the time, but it can bring out of nowhere some sudden mix-up. So that energy is there. And it is positively aspecting this full moon in both ways. So let's start with the sun and Uranus. So the sun and Uranus, the sun in Virgo and Uranus in Taurus, both earth energies, both practical, both trying to better life, self, and others. And when they are in connection and harmony the way that they are, that's how this energy can be used. Great time to build a foundation of some kind for self and others, and get very detail oriented and practical about how you're going to go about doing that. Great energy for that. Uranus sextile the moon is going to provide an opportunity to bring some of these higher minded ideals and these feelings of empathy, these feelings of emotional connection beyond ego, connection to the greater collective. It's going to be a great opportunity to bring that into physical manifestation, into physical, tangible, practical construction. There's an opportunity to do that, okay? There's an opportunity to make it real because Taurus is a container. That's what its energy is when it's expressed. When you have Uranus there, it's about bringing that Pisces lunar energy into form in a very tangible, contained, practical kind of way that can create something earth, that can create something fixed earth, that can create something solid, something lasting, right? That's what Taurus asks. And so we have this harmonious triangle here of energies that we can work with. And what does that look like? What does that look like? How can it manifest? Well, it's going to manifest for everybody in very different ways. When you're talking about Uranus in Taurus, I think about change and revolution and electricity and a lot of suddenness when you talk about Uranus. But in the sign of Taurus, it gets slowed down and it gets very practical And so, how do you express that? Well, Taurus is a very crafty sign, right? And so, whether it's artistic or whether it's with money or whatever way, this is about getting very, very crafty, all right, with that lunar energy that we have in Pisces and that practical energy that we have in Virgo, okay? Now, just as an example of how this could work, because it's going to work for everybody differently, depending on how it's placed in your chart and what your tendencies are, what your likes and dislikes are in life. But for me, I can give an example of how I've used this energy, okay, as it's built into the full moon. So yesterday, for example, I've been learning sailing. Sailing is something I really like to do, and so how does that apply? Well, the sailing, you could say, well, the water, right? The water and being out on the sea, being in the bay, okay, it has this sort of lunar, sort of water, kind of emotional connection to all because it's a great expanse of water and you are connected to it. That's Pisces right there. That's moon in Pisces. Now, feeling that connection, that is that emotional connection, that is the Pisces energy. Okay. Well, I was on a new vessel, a dinghy boat that I'd never been on before, and I had to learn, all the nuances of it. And so it was new, bringing that newness in, doing something I hadn't done before in a new way, something I'd done in the past, but doing it in a very new way, right? Which was, sailing this new vessel. Okay. And then that's the Uranus. That's the Uranus in Taurus. The container is the boat, right? So there you have the container, and where the sun fits in, the sun in Virgo is like, okay, Virgo is a very practical energy. It has to do with detail. It's also can be very manual because it's a Mercury ruled sign. So one hand on the main sheet and the other on the tiller, right? And so I have these things going on. Yes, as I'm sailing along, I'm feeling that connection to everything and feeling okay. We're sailing. I'm feeling connection to the water, that great expanse. There's something very rejuvenating and fulfilling emotionally about that. Yes, but I'm also having to man the tiller, have my hand on the sheets, the main sheet, make sure the sail is properly taut when it needs to be and let out when it doesn't, and that it's being steered in the right way, and making sure that the vessel, right, is steady and it's not going to capsize, right? So all these energies are at play here, and that is really, that's how it manifested for me. Everybody's going to have a different way that they're manifesting these three energies, but I'm saying that they're all there, and by working with them all together, there's wind at your back, there's flow to make these energies work for you in a way that can be very, emotionally satisfying with that moon in Pisces. Connection to everything, connection to all. So use this energy. We're also going to have the sun in a loose trine to Jupiter. So again, we're talking about Jupiter being the ruler of Pisces. It's just another significator for this flow that I'm talking about, for really creating a situation tangibly that can really bring us into that deeper connection with all, to bring us into that greater peace, that feeling of we're all one, okay? There are tangible things that we can do right now that can come together to really facilitate that. That's the point I want to stress. We also have, we have Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, and we have Saturn there as well in the sign of Capricorn. So Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all in Capricorn, all in Earth signs right now. So this is, it's not directly trine to the sun. All of them aren't directly trine to the sun by degree, only Jupiter loosely, but they are all trine by sign. And so there's harmony here. There's not this fracas of energy. There's a lot coming together in harmony right now. It's not perfect. We still have Mars doing its thing, okay? We still have Mars. It's slowing down, okay? It's getting ready to go retrograde here and in a week or two, and I'm going to do another video about that. So it's slowing down. It's still causing some tension. That's not over with, but it is diminishing and it is slowing down and it's getting ready to go retrograde. And once it goes retrograde, I think a lot of the external push, the tension that we're seeing externally is going to go more internal, and it could be more focused on self. I'll do another video about that because that's a very big energy. But just know that Mars is still in the background doing its thing, but its prominence is becoming less and less of a factor, even though it is still very much on the radar. Okay, so that's there. The only I would call it a booger, but it's a very temporary energy, only for a few days this week. By weekend, it should be moved out, and we shouldn't be feeling this aspect anymore. But we are going to have Venus across from Saturn. So we have Venus in the sign of Cancer with this full moon, and it's going to be across from Saturn. Not a big deal. Venus by transit is not normally a game changer, but I would say this probably you could be feeling just for this week a little bit more distant from people and relating to people in a more I don't know, formal, professional kind of way. Okay, relating to people in a professional way, I would suggest with this energy is probably a good default when dealing with people this week, and people that are not, that you don't relate to in a professional way, like family and friends. Just understand there may be a little bit more distance. You may be feeling a little bit more an island to yourself, but it's this is a very mild aspect, and it's going to move through very quickly. So this energy is not something that I would get really prepare too much for. I would focus more of your energy on this awesome full moon that we have, and doing what you can, using that sailing analogy, doing what you can to connect all these energies so that they can bring about a container to experience that peace that comes from connecting with greater than self, connecting with all things, connecting with nature. Okay, it's a very spiritual aspect. It's really awesome. So the energy's there. We can use it, and we can see what we can do. So that's what I got. That's what I got for this week. This energy should be around this week, and it's nice. We can move with this. So I'm going to do another video again about Mars when it goes retrograde. As far as Venus is concerned, it is going to be moving into the sign of Leo. By next week, it'll be in Leo proper, well into the sign of Leo. And once it gets into Leo, a little further into Leo, it is going to make a nice aspect with Mars. And then energies are going to get very personal and very, it could be an opportunity to connect on a one-to-one way in a closer, more intimate way. Very different than what we may be dealing with this week with Venus. Okay, so it is going to change pretty quickly once we get into next week in a positive, harmonious way on that front. So that's what I got. Use this energy. Have I want to say have fun with it, but just use the container to connect at a very deep level. Get creative with it because it is going to ask that you do to get novel and do something very different. That's the Uranian angle. So think outside the box. Do something you haven't done before, but do it in a way that's going to help you create with a deeper part of yourself and with the collective and source consciousness on the whole. So that's what I got. Enjoy. I'm glad I could bring you a video that is, I want to say, positive or uplifting, inspiring. I hope it's that way. I feel that way. And so that's what I got for now. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye.